Hi, I'm Assistant Professor Aditi Mathur, International Schools of Business Management, Suresh Gyan Bihar University, Jaipur. And today we'll be starting with a very new and interesting subject, which is microeconomics. So let us just start by understanding what is microeconomics all about. But before that, let us just check what all we are going to cover in this lecture video. We'll be learning the meanings and the definitions of the microeconomics, characteristics, features of microeconomics, uses, importance, advantages of microeconomics, the circular flow, and we will be also looking upon the scopes of microeconomics, followed by the disadvantages and limitations of microeconomics. So let's just start understanding that what is actually micro and macroeconomics. So we have already studied by this level that there is something, a subject known as economics, which help us to understand the economy in a much better way, right? And you have covered this in your 11th and 12th. But you should also know that what is actually the two basic studies of economics, that is the micro and macroeconomics. So we will be focusing on the microeconomics, but we should also know what is macroeconomics. So the word micro has been derived from a Greek word micros, which means small. And the word macros has been derived from a Greek word which is macros and which means large. So when we say that we are studying on a very small group of people, or on a very particular and individual group of people, a specific group of people, that means we are talking about a microeconomic study. Right? The word itself say micro means narrow study, but macro means a large number of people, a large number of companies, economy itself, right? Country itself has been studied on a very large level, the economy, or maybe the implications of a certain laws which has been introduced by the government. So that overall impact, when the area is broad, that means we are studying at the macro level. So, what is the actual meaning of microeconomics? So, microeconomics is actually an analysis of individualistic behavior. Right? We understand the behavior of an individual over here. Right? Individual can be a person, human like you and me, or an individual company. Right? Individual company means, let's take an example. If we are talking about FMCG, so in FMCG sector, an individual company can be your ITC, or it can be your Dabur, anything, right? We are not studying about the FMCG sector itself. We are studying about an individualistic level. That means we will be studying about the company, or for a very individual person, maybe for a salary employee, or for a businessman background employee, right? So that type of individual behavior. The microeconomic studies and individual customers, producers, price of a particular commodity, households, etc. Right? So we study at a very basic level that what will be the behavior of a customer, right? When prices will increase, or when a new product has been introduced, or what will be the reaction of a producer, or what are the forces which helps you to determine the price of a particular commodity, right? How the prices are determined. This might be the one of the very question which generally comes in the mind of people, that how the prices are determined, what factors affect the price of a commodity, right? So that all are studied at a micro level. The main objective of the study of microeconomics in general is individual, families, and companies. Like, so we like to study the general background of, in general, what are the characteristics of an individual behavior, right? If prices increases, will customer buy our product, or will customer not buy our product, right? If the producer wants to increase the supply, how he should increase the supply, right? What is the company's attitude when a new policy has been introduced, or there is a change in the fashion or in the taste of a customer, right? So that is studied at the microeconomics level. Microeconomics is considered to be the study of the allocation of scarce resources amongst the alternative purpose. So over here, I would like to introduce you to three of the very important terminologies. One is scarce, then its resources, and the alternative purpose. Right? So we will just do it in a very basic level right now. So what do you mean by scarce? Scare means which is not in abundance, which is limited in nature, right? You have limited amount of money, it is scare resource, right? You have limited amount of time if you talk about the study hours in your day, right? So it is a scare resource, right? What is resource? So in economics, on a very basic level, these resources are divided into your land, labor, and capital, right? They are generally known as the inputs as well. So we generally divide these resources into land, labor, and capital. So if we talk about your resources, then we say this land resource is further very limited in nature. Your labor is also limited in nature, and your money capital is also limited in nature. So what I'm saying these three resources are limited, are scarce, and we have alternative uses of these resources. Like, I can use a piece of land either by building a new warehouse and store my output, or by allowing my contractor to build a building and give it on rent, or I can ask my friends to do the farming activity on it, or I can just leave it that land like idle resource, I don't want to do anything, or I can establish a factory on it and can start my new business venture, right? So these are the alternative purposes available for me if I talk about the land. Now if I talk about the labor, I might be employing my labor to produce only one good, I might be employing my labor to produce more than one goods. I might categorize my labor into many parts, that skilled, semi-skilled, unskilled, and giving them the work, allocating them on that basis. I might ask my labor to only and only focus on a one particular activity of my business. So there are many ways in which I can use the labor. There are alternative ways, right? And labor is now being even replaced by the humanoids, the robots which we have, right? So it is also a new alternative opportunity for the businessman, that whether they want to start their business on the basis of their labor capacity, or they will be introducing the machineries, the robots, and the work will be done by them, right? So again, if the both are used, which is a good mix in which their cost has been reduced, right? So these are resources, alternative purpose, generally forces an individual or a businessman towards a dilemma situation, that what is correct for that businessman, what should be selected, what should not be selected, which alternative will serve the best purpose of that businessman objective. So the microeconomics help you out to overcome these situations. Now let's take an example of the scarce resource capital and the alternative purpose. If let's take an example. If I have a 1 crore rupees with me, right? So how can I use this 1 crore? Either I can get retired and use that 1 crore rupees and have a happy life, or I can invest them. Again, I have n numbers of investment avenues, where to invest, how much to invest, in which proportion to invest, what will be my portfolio, how I'm going to design and revise my portfolio. Then I can start a new business. I can give the money to the as a loan to someone who needs it, because it's a money. I can transfer it, and I can earn the interest by giving the loan, advancing the loan to someone who needs it. Or I can use that amount and start my new venture. So how to use that money again become a big question, right? So these all answers are found out when we study the microeconomics. So till now, what you have studied? You have studied that what is microeconomics. It is an individualistic behavior study right? It helps you to study at the level of individual customer, producer, helps you to identify the prices, right? And then we also studied that how microeconomics help you to find a very basic balance between the allocation of the scarce resources and how to use in the best manner, because you have the alternative purpose. So which alternative purpose is the best alternative purpose for the your understanding? Then, if we talk about the definition, then according to the Professor K.E. Boulding, the microeconomics is the study of particular firm, particular household, particular of individual prices, wages, income, individual industries, and a particular commodities. So everything is very specific. We go into a very specific study. We study at a very narrow level, right? So that this is known as microeconomics, narrow study, a very close environment study, right? That is your microeconomics. So let us just first understand the characteristics or the feature of the microeconomics. Then the first characteristics which I will like to discuss with you right now is the nature of analysis, right? In microeconomics, the behavior of individual customer and the producer in detail is analyzed, right? So behavior of an individual customer like you, me, and the producer in detail is analyzed. What is the behavior of a customer when the prices rise or when there is a discount opportunity, right? How does he react in that situation? Does he buy the same quantity, or he increases his quantity, or he decreases a quantity, right? And if the prices have changed, what is the attitude of the buyers, and what is the attitude of the producers and the suppliers? If the price increases, will they like to supply more, or they like to hold their supplies, right? So this individual behavior is studied in the microeconomics. It is a study of the subject matter from the particular to general. So you start studying very particular, and then you come up with a general analysis, right? So the second characteristics which we should discuss right now is the method. So microeconomics divide economy into very small units, and every unit is analyzed in detail. And this analysis process or this study process is known as sizing method. So what we do is we have actually categorized, or we divide our entire economy into small part, and then we focus on it. Let's take an example that first we will divide our economy on the basis of the types of good. Then we narrow it down to the FMCG. Then we narrow it down to your, beauty products. Then we narrow it down to your shampoos. Then we narrow it down to a particular company who is producing a particular shampoo. In that also you have now lots of variants, right? Anti-dandruff, or your silk and smooth, your shampoos which help you to increase the length of your hair, right? Volume of the hair. So what are they doing? We are going into specific nature, and then when we study the specific behavior, we try to come up with a overall analysis and a conclusion. So we are slicing down our economy. We come up to a particular level, an individual, we study each and every minute details, and then we make a conclusion out of it. The third characteristic is the scope. The scope of the microeconomics is to analyze, involves the product pricing, factor pricing, and theory of welfare. Right? We will study what are these in our upcoming slides, but right now you should know that you study, the product pricing, how the pricing is done. What are the factors which determine or helps you to determine the price? Then factor pricing, what are the different factors involved in a production of a particular good or a services, and how are the pricing related with that factors? Then theory of welfare. Then what is theory of welfare, right? So there are a few questions which come up in the theory of welfare. We will discuss in our upcoming slides. So the microeconomic scope is to analyze the product pricing, the factor pricing, and the theory of welfare. Then the next characteristic is your application, right? So both theoretically and practically, your microeconomics is useful. How it is useful? It is useful in formulating various policies, right? So it is useful in not only helping you to formulate the policies, but also to allocate the resources for the public finance. The international trade policies and etc. are the basic reasons how this microeconomics theory is applied theoretically and practically. So when I'm teaching you these concepts in our upcoming video lectures and then this video lecture also, slowly and slowly you will be able to relate it the practical news which are coming up in the market as well, right? And I will be helping you out to connect with the latest news and the case study examples which will help you out to understand that yes, the microeconomics, how it is helping you out to take the day-to-day decisions, how the businessman is helped by understanding the microeconomics, right? So application, yes, it is both theoretically and practically applicable, and we can see a very good traces, and we will be studying few case studies to understand the concept in detail. Then the another characteristic is the nature of assumption. See, every study have some assumptions, right? Because the world is uncertain, right? Everything is uncertain. So you need to take some assumptions before you draw or conclude a particular law or particular policy. So you need to have some assumptions. So in microeconomics, assumption of ether paribus is always there. So what do you mean by ether paribus? Ether paribus means other things being same or constant. That means that other factors are constant. We assume that the other factors are always constant. We will be studying ether paribus and its impact when we'll be studying the law of demand and law of supply. Over there, I will be telling you and teaching you what are these factors and what are the other factors, other things we are talking about when we are right now saying ether paribus, right? So right now you should assume that the assumption in economics stands on the ether paribus, and in upcoming video lecture we will be understanding with more clarity what are these other things for which we are saying that they will be constant, and then only our law will be applicable. Now let us just understand what are the uses and importance or the advantages of microeconomics, right? So till now what we have studied the characteristics or the features. Let us just quickly have a recap. The characteristic number one is the nature of analysis, then the slicing method, then the scope, then the application, that it is theoretically and practically both applicable, and then the nature of assumptions, right? So now what or the how this microeconomics help you, what are the advantages or the importance of the study of microeconomics. So the first use of the microeconomics is that it helps you to understand the individual behavior, right? So microeconomics studies behavior of individual customers or producer in a particular situation. What can be these situation? These situation can be anything. If the prices rises, if price decreases, if government have changed and they have come up with the new rules and regulation, if the taste and preference or the fashion of a customer has been changed, right? If the age group changes, if the income changes, right? If the salary income changes, your real income changes, right? Then if there is any calamities, so what will be the behavior of an individual customer or the suppliers, right? So it helps you to understand the behavior in each situation. right? And with that, we can come up with some solutions of that particular situation. Then it helps you out in allocation of the resources. So we have discussed previously that our resources are really very scarce in nature, and you will agree with me, right? So we have limited resources. If we talk about the land, right, we don't have abundant land with us, and that is why the rates of the land in upcoming days and in this right now, in this period also, the rate of the land is increasing and increasing. It is never that the rate of our land has decreased. It is always increasing because it is scarce resources, and only the person who had that capability or the money with them, they can only afford a good area of a land, right? So it is a scare in nature. And if you have a land, you have a number of things you can do with that land, right? Which we have discussed previously, that you can start your own business house by, establishing a factory, or you can build a good new building and sell it at the each floors or the flats, right? Nowadays the builders are very into it. They take the land and then they build a building, and then they, sell the rents, the housing societies which are coming up into the market these days, right? Or you can come up with a farming activity, or you can open a research center, right? So there are n number of uses available for these scarce resources, right? And these scarce resources are really very less in quantity with us. They are not in abundance, beta, right? If you talk about the money is also one of the very scarce resources you have, right? You cannot just keep on printing the currencies. The government have to work on it. They have to they maintain that gold reserve. If they have to come up with the new introduction of the money or the currency, it cannot be just like that, that okay, go and print the 1,000 rupees note. No, they have to make sure that they meet the requirements. They cannot just dream of having a new currency note and they can do it. No, they have to follow new rules and regulations and take proper actions again. And then if you have a money, then again you have lots and lots of avenues in which you can use that money or invest that money, or you can even grant it to donation. Just donate it if you don't want to use it. So there are n number of opportunities and ways in which the money can be used, right? So coming up to that decision, microeconomics help you out, because microeconomics help in a proper allocation and utilization of resources. You should utilize the resources effectively and efficiently, right? Just using doesn't make it worthy. You have to effectively and efficiently use the resources. Why? Because resources are limited, they are scarce in nature. And who take the decision? The producer take the decision, that how am I going to allocate my resources, and how I'm going to utilize my labor or my capital or my land, right? So that I can get the best output. And again, the output are in two types. They can be your goods, the physical goods like pen, paper, laptop, mobile, or the services like your DTH services, your telecommunication services, your internet services, right? So they can be both in nature. Your commodity is of two types, your good and services. So to produce a good, fine, and a very demanded commodity, you need to utilize and allocate your resources in the best manner, right? Now let's take an example and understand that why we need to do it. Let's assume that we all together start up with our new venture, and what we are doing, we are selling a pen, a red colored gel pen. This is our innovative idea we have come up. But the innovation is that red colored gel pen, when we write it on a sheet of paper, it is red in ink, but when you will pour the water on that paper, it will change its color. It will be of green in color, right? This is our innovative idea, and it has been tested and proved. And we have a license, we have a copyright, our scientists have worked on it, and this is our new discovery. We have those chemical formula which helps you out to do it. That you write it on a piece of paper, a dry paper, the ink is red, but when the papers get wet, it turn it into the green color, right? So now I have to decide that how much amount of quantity I have to produce, what should be the rate, right? Who will be working on my project, how much amount of capital I need to invest, from where I'm going to get my machinery, right? At what rate I need to purchase my machinery, how many laborers I need on three categories, that semi skilled, unskilled, and skilled labor, right? Then how am I going to promote my product? How am I going to distribute my product, right? And how I'm going to check the quality of my product, right? And to make sure that my customer or my target audience receive the good fine quality, I need to make sure that the previous decisions of how has been at the very, a good quality answers, right? I need to have a proper allocation, that okay, this is a piece of land, over here will be my entry point, over here I'm going to have my factory, over here I will have my storeroom, over here the management will sit, over here I will have a restroom for my laborers or for my employees, over here I will be do the unloading and the loading process, and this is how my land is going to look like. How am I going to effectively use the land? It should not be like that, okay, open a factory and only a big machinery is standing in between, and it is creating a chaos, right? We don't want to create a chaos in that particular land, because we cannot, we might not be in that situation to buy a one more land nearby. It might be under construction or might be used by someone else already. So you have to effectively use, right? You have to come up with a very good blueprint how your production cycle or activity will work, right? So that your time has also reduced, right? It should not be like that the inputs are received over here, and over here you are manufacturing, over here you are selling, so there is no connect. There should be a connect, there should be a proper flow. That input will come, they will manufacture, they will get packaged, they will get stored, and over here they will go back, right? They will be sent it out from our factory. So this blueprint, the allocation should be proper, because this flow will reduce your time, this flow will reduce your cost, and once the cost is reduced, you will increase your profit margin, right? So proper allocation is one of the advantage, or the one of the answers which we get if we study the microeconomics. Then the price mechanism, microeconomics decide prices of various goods and services on the basis of demand supply analysis, right? So before understanding the prices, we should know what is the demand, what is supply, right? And then depending on the market structure, your prices are decided, right? So this microeconomics help a producer or a seller or a businessman to decide the price of the goods and services for which they are producing and coming up with lots and lots of activities, right? Then the another advantage is the economic policy. So microeconomics help in formulating various economic policies and economic plans to promote all-round economic development. So when you know that what is the working, or what are the features or characteristics, or what are the problems faced by FMCG, definitely the government will take those inputs in formulating the policies, right? What are the problems faced by the in real estate businessmen or women? So they will form up the economic policy is in that fashion, right? So the microeconomics studies helps the government to formulate the economic policies as well, right? Then free enterprise economic, Microeconomic explains operating of a free enterprise economy where individual have freedom to take his own economic decisions, right? It is totally onto that particular individual to take the economic decision, what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce, from where to get the money, how to supply it, how to distribute, right? They all have been taken care by an individual himself or herself. Then it helps in public finances. It helps the government in fixing the tax rate, the type of taxes, as well as the amount of tax to be charged by the buyer and seller. Once you know the particular industry, once you know the particular working, once you know that how many sales are done, how the producers react, then definitely it becomes very easy for the government to fix the tax rate or the type or the amount. Like the salt is not taxed. Why? Because it is a basic commodity every customer needed, right? Every human being needs salt. It is one of the basic commodity. So generally the tax are not charged by the on the salts, right? So it has to be taken care by the government, and this is by the help of the microeconomics. Then your foreign trade. So microeconomics helps in explaining and fixing the international trades and tariff rules, causes of disequilibriums in the balance of payment, effect of factor deciding the exchange rate, etc. So this all are the part which can be answered with the help of understanding the microeconomics. Then your social welfare. Social welfare, how the social society is welfare, it not only analyze the economic condition but also studies the social need under different market conditions, like your oligopoly market structure, your monopoly market structure, your public competition market structure. So you understand it, how the welfare goes in the different market structures and which market structure prevail in which types of commodity. Then let us just first see the circular flow. So over here we have households and the resource owners, and we have farmers, firms. Firms means the corporates, right? So to if we talk about the product market, so the firms deliver the goods and services which they are producing to the households or the resource owners, and in return they get the money, right, against the goods and services which they are producing, right? So when we go into the market, right, so we give money and take the product. Let's take an example. I'm going and buying a sugar, so I'll go to the shop market, and I'll give the money and I'll buy the certain kgs of the sugar, whatever I need, right? So this market where the exchange of goods and services with money takes place, this market is known as your product market. And what is the resource market or the factor market? When the resources, that means your labor and other resources, are given by the households to the firm for the manufacturing purpose, right? So that is what that comes under the part of your resource or the factor market. And in against the rendering of the services by the households or by the workers, the laborers living in the society to the firm, they get back their wages, rent, and interest. So now you see, I have written wages, rent, and interest in relation with the land, labor, and capital. Land, if you are renting the land, you will get your rent. If you are giving the services as a labor, you will get the wages, and if you are giving the money, you will get the interest, right? So this is one of the circular flow in which I can easily teach you up what is the product market and what is the resource market. Resource market is also known as the factor market. So when we talk about the exchange of the production factors with the rent, labor, and interest, that market is known as the factor market, and the transactions takes between the households and the firm. And if we talk about the product market, the exchanges of the goods and services and money take place between the firms and the households and the resource owner. So just take a minute and understand what is it. So now let's move ahead and understand the scope of microeconomics. So microeconomics is basically categorized into three parts: your commodity pricing, then your factor pricing, and then the theory of economic welfare. Right? So as I told you, we will be understanding the theory of welfare. So we will be understanding the theory of welfare. Generally, the theory of welfare come up with the four basic questions: that what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce, and when to produce, right? And factor pricing, which is also known as the theory of distribution, that means the rent, labor, rent, wages, interest, and profit. Then your commodity pricing, demand theory, and supply theory comes into the picture. So what is commodity pricing? The commodity pricing is the prices of an individual commodities are determined by the market forces of a demand and supply. So the microeconomic market demand supplies makes the microeconomics makes demand analysis. So what comes in demand analysis? Your individual consumer behavior, and supply analysis, your individual producer behavior. So when you understand the demand analysis and the supply analysis, that means your individual customer behavior and your producer behavior, this analysis comes under your commodity pricing. Then your factor pricing. Factor means your land, labor, capital, entrepreneur, all factors contributing in the production process. So they get reward in form of rent, wages, interest, and profit respectively. So labor gets the wages, land gets the rent, your capital gets the interest, and entrepreneurs get the profit. Microeconomics deals with determination of such rewards, that is the factor prices. So microeconomics is also known as your price theory or your value theory as well. Then your welfare theory, if I talk about, so microeconomics deals with the optimum allocation of available resources and maximization of social welfare. So it provides answer to what to produce, when to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce, right? So in short, if I want to sum up, microeconomics guides the utilization of scarce resources of economy to maximize public welfare, right? So it helps you, the society, to understand what is the need in the market right now. So what you should produce, right? When to produce, what is the perfect time to produce your particular good or services, right? How to produce, that means you are going to go for a labor oriented or mechanical oriented industry, or for whom to produce, who are your target audience. You will be producing for the individual customers, or you will be producing and selling it to the wholesalers, and they will be passing to the retailers, and then the customers will get, or for the businessmen people, or for high society people, or for a low income earning people. Who are your target audience, right? So that is also coming up into the welfare theory. If we talk about the disadvantages or the limitations of the microeconomics, the first thing is that it is an unrealistic assumption-based theory, right? Microeconomics is based on an unrealistic assumption, especially at cause of full employment assumption. The first thing which we assume in the microeconomics is that there is full employment situation, which practically does not exist, right? There are, and you can see unemployment in your society right now. So assuming that everyone is employed is one of the limitation of the study. Even behavior of one individual cannot be generalized as the behavior of all. So if I want to buy more and more of good when the prices fall, this might not be the same applicable rule for the people like Ambani's. They might not buy it. They might not like to buy when the goods are of cheap rate. They will like to buy it when the prices are high, so that they can have, and they might show off that I bought this item when it was at the peak, right? So just analyzing few people and saying that it is applicable to everyone, it is also one of the limitations. Then inadequate data. Microeconomics is based on the information dealing with individual behavior, individual customer, right? Hence, it is difficult to get correct information. So because of an incorrect data, microeconomics may provide inaccurate results, right? So when your information collected is only correct, so definitely your results will also be incorrect or inaccurate. Then ether paribus, I have discussed with you before. Ether paribus means that assuming that all the factors are same or constant is one of the biggest limitation, right? So this is one of the limitations. For this video lecture, I will like you all to refer the microeconomics book by the Dwivedi and Principles of the Economics, the 7th edition book. I have not taken this content from these books, but for the reference purpose, for understanding this in more detail, I prefer for you to go to these books, right? If we talk about the reference sites, there are n numbers of sites which is giving you the data, but I will recommend you all to please check the credibility of these sites, right? Check the authenticity before you refer or study from a particular site, right? So let's just have a quick recap of what we have studied today. So we have studied your meaning and definition, and have generally developed a general understanding of the microeconomics. Then how the word microeconomics came into the existence. We actually looked upon the characteristics and the feature. We also understood the importance of learning the microeconomics. Then we learned the circular flow, the two circular flows. One was your factor of production circular flow, and another was of the goods and services. Then your subject matter or the scopes, three basic scopes of economics, and the limitation of the economics, right? So now let us just have a quick recap or a revision with the help of MCQs. So MCQs actually help us a lot in understanding and grasping the correct learning which we have learned in these few minutes. So let us just solve 10 MCQ questions. All the best to everyone. Please make sure that you are sitting with a paper and pen and just be ready, right? And try to solve this question. Read the question very wisely, and then select the best option. And all the best to everyone. And I have given you total 10 questions, and let's start the MCQs. So these are the first two MCQs on your screen. So the first question is, economics is a science which deals with. So please select the best option. Then microeconomics deals with the study of dash economy entities. So what is the correct option? Please select the correct options. The third MCQ is macroeconomics deals with dash economic entity. The fourth MCQ is dash is an example of microeconomics theory. So the four theories are given to you. So just select the best or the correct option amongst the all, which is one of the example of the microeconomics theory. The fifth MCQ is identify the example of macroeconomics theory. The sixth MCQ is opportunity cost are dash measured in monetary terms. The seventh is dash is universal problem. So there are 4 problems given to you. Identify the universal problem which is there for everyone. The eighth question is, according to the Professor Mencken, dash is essence of economy. So there are 4 things. Which is the essence according to the professor? Please select the one. The ninth MCQ is, people can face trade-off between what? So identify the correct combo of the 2 items between which the people generally, face the trade-off. And the last MCQ for this video lecture is, the market economy suffers from dash, which are responsible for the problems like inflation and unemployment and many more. So which is that market economy problem? Just identify the correct option. Is it imperfection or the lack of resources or inefficiency or the recession, which is the correct option? So do hope that you all have, answered this question, and you might be able to answer all the 10 MCQ questions. This was one of the very best ways to have a quick recap of what we have studied and what are the expected questions which generally come up into the examination. So thank you all for watching this video lecture. I do hope that you have, understood the basics of economics and have understand the meaning, advantages, disadvantages, the scopes of microeconomics. And thank you everyone once again. Happy learning.